Hello once again. It's that time of year again. I know this is late as heck, but better late than never. This is the 2022 Metal Album of the Year list for me. I know it's like the beginning of March now. There were some things I was waiting on, and one thing led to another, and now we're here. There was one in particular I was waiting on to make this list for because it just couldn't be complete without it. But everything's here now. I'm gonna make this kind of short and sweet. This is the top 25 albums of my 2022, and I'm gonna mention my favorite EP and also split. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. This was my split of the year last year. I listened to this pretty much constantly since I had it. This is a great one to work to. This is a great one to play in the car to get hype. This is Omega Vortex and Pius Levis with From the Void Comes Paranormal Death. All the song titles are pretty funny and simple, but the cancer noise that comes out of this freaking CD is just insane. Omega Vortex is on like another level when it comes to just playing ridiculously fast and chaotic music. If you heard their last album, this is an even higher step up than that, in my opinion. So yeah, go check out Omega Vortex and Pius Levis. This was my EP of the year last year. I've talked a lot about this band in the past. I've been supporting them since day one, pretty much. This is Kriegscore. Still don't know how to say the damn name, but this is a Zoetrope. This is one 25-minute long song, I believe. I'll pull out the CD because the CD is pretty cool. Hopefully it shows up on camera. Yeah, can kind of see it. It has the band and album name etched on the back of the CD. But this is like super apocalyptic, deeply layered, cavernous death metal that just teleports you to another dimension. Around the halfway point of this thing, it really sounds like the coming of the end of days, and everything kind of just like it comes to a head, and everything is swirling, and everything is like, it just feels good. The production's great, the vocals are great, lots of strings and stuff. I think this is probably my favorite offering of theirs. It's probably their most diverse, and yeah, go check out Kriegscore. Everything will be in the description, because I know I'm not going to say everything right. So now we're getting on to the real list. This is the top 25. I'm kind of going to speed through the first few. I don't have a whole lot to say about some of them, but if they're on this list, then you know they're quality, because I don't put any junk on here. I buy like 1 billion albums a year. So number 25, I was so impressed with this band at first that I bought their whole discography. And this is, you kind of got to be in the right mood for this, for sure. But this is Catharos 13 with Chthonic Transmissions. This is kind of like a dark jazz, dark wave, semi-avant-garde, black metal-ish, something or other. Just take all those words and put it into a package that's like 70 minutes long or something. Lots of, saxophones and strings and female singing. Really slow, groovy moments that are almost like hypnotic or psychedelic to a degree. So yeah, this is it's definitely a vibe. Go check out Catharos 13. Number 24, I had no idea this was coming out when it did. I was a big fan of their debut. I think it was their debut. But I listened to this one a ton at work too. This is extremely hype. This is number 24, Heaving Earth with Darkness of God. This thing is Riff City. It's super hyped to listen to. Super complicated, swirling, layered riffs. Comes on a black disc, which is always a huge plus for me. Shout out to the PlayStation 1. Yeah, Heaving Earth, somewhere in between like old school death metal and tech death. It's not flashy in the slightest, but the guitars sound like they're playing so fast. I feel like when they play live, they got to change strings like 20 times. But yeah, 24, Heaving Earth with Darkness of God. This is number 23. I had no idea what this band was, but I heard a single, and it's also on Profound Lore, and it immediately sold me. This is Luminous Vault with Animate the Emptiness. So this is a little hard to explain. This is like somewhere in between like dark wave or dark ambient mixed with like pretty harsh black metal, but it's super catchy. It's relatively simplistic. It's a little industrial. It's a little like movie soundtrack almost. It's pretty short. It's pretty to the point, but it is just chock full with ultra memorable riffs, ultra memorable moments, and it's hard to find something that sounds exactly like this. The beats are pulsating, but the guitars are so cold and dissonant, and the tremolo guitar passages on this album are just like choice cuts. Nothing too complicated, but everything is just like super catchy. So yeah, that's 23 with Luminous Vault. Number 22, if you like Slam, I think this is mandatory to be on your list somewhere. This is Pestilectomy with From Vulnerable to Funeral. This is the big DVD pack. It comes with a bunch of crap. This is one of my favorite Slam albums of the year. I think this is one of two that's on the list. I had never heard of this band before, but the album artwork caught me by surprise. The production is incredible. It's super varied and diverse. It's not just pure Slam. There's a little bit of everything in there. It's not killed by samples, which is kind of a big no-no for me these days. It's just really fun. It's kind of funny here and there. There's a couple cool beats on there that definitely mix it up a little bit. Super brutal, super gross, super disgusting. It's Slam. So that's 22 with Pestilectomy. 21, this one caught me by surprise. I would not have expected this is what this sounds like, considering the artwork. But this is Gut Void with Durance of Lightless Horizons. So this is somewhere in between like death metal and death doom, but the guitar tone is really interesting on this. It's not like insufferably heavy or anything. There's also a lot of really catchy moments on this album. The songs are pretty lengthy, which, you know, that's kind of what you sign up for if you come to this channel. I like long songs. So if you like death metal that's somewhere in between, almost like, not necessarily funeral doom, but it's definitely doomier, then definitely check out Gut Void. I really enjoy their logo. They're on Blood Harvest. Blood Harvest can do no wrong. So that's 21 with Gut Void. Number 20, I've never heard of this band before. This is kind of a theme here in these back few albums. But this one totally blew me away. I listen to this all the time. This is Swampborn with Beyond Ratio. There's a lot going on this album. I just want to mention there's a frog here. So the band name is Swampborn, and there's like a lot of swampy references on here. So much so that one of the songs starts with like a bunch of swamp noises, like frogs and bubbling and stuff. It's kind of silly, but it fits somehow. There's a lot of crazy instrumentation, almost in the vein of like Malady or an Aeon or something like that. There's a lot going on. It's really thick, but it definitely still has a high concentration of great metal instrumentation. Lots of great guitar riffs, lots of crazy drumming. And I really enjoy the vocals on this. Saxophone goes so hard on this album, it's not funny. So yeah, go check out Swampborn Beyond Ratio. Number 19, I believe I've talked about this band here before. They're responsible for one of my all-time favorite black metal albums. This is Dodsangle with Babylon. This is definitely a more enjoyable for me personally than Enter Equinox. I thought that album was a little too one-dimensional in my eyes, but this album is quite possibly their best album. This one is on like a dark red disc. I'm glad labels are doing this again. I like the creative discs. But this kind of goes somewhere in between Enter Equinox and Imperator, where it's like, you know, the more black metal and the more crazy ass side of Dodsangle, where there's kind of like highly meditative moments on this mixed in with the chaos. It's a pretty lengthy album as well. You know, Imperator is like a 2.5 hour long album. Definitely not that long, but big step up from Enter Equinox, from my opinion. So yeah, glad to see Dodsangle back doing what I love. I will support them till the end of time. Go check them out. Number 18. I think this is another band I found this year, and I went back and bought a bunch of their older stuff. This is on Transcending Obscurity. This is Discordia with Triptych. So the way the description lies in the Bandcamp description is like more brutal gore guts, and I'm kind of here for that. It's slightly more brutal gore guts. There's, again, a lot of crazy instrumentation on this. It's somewhere in between like Ulcerate and Portal. Maybe not so much Portal. Maybe kind of like later Mitochondrion. There's just like a lot of deeply textured layers going on all the time. Not a whole lot of rhythm, not a whole lot of catchy beats, so to say, but it's just like mind-bending, crazy riffs, crazy songwriting, and then every once in a while it's kind of broken up with like a really like almost cutesy, like naturey diddle on some other instruments. Like there's some flute on here and stuff. It just goes crazy. Like definitely check out Discordia. Their last album is also extraordinary. I listen to that one pretty frequently as well. So yeah, that was 18 with Discordia. Number 17. This is another one I have never heard of before, and I'm very happy that I did. This stuff's right up my alley. This is Negative Plane with The Pact. So I follow one of the guys from Thy Darkened Shade on Facebook, and they said this was their album of the year. So I had to check it out. One of the only people I trust for music recommendations. Another extremely long song. And So It Came to Pass is like almost 20 minutes, I think. Very heavy, heavy metal influenced style black metal. A lot of riff-driven songs, not so much fast picking, more like deliberate riffing, more calculated, slower to mid-pace. The vocals are evil as hell. Like, it just sounds like some evil poetry. Everything is pretty enunciated, pretty understandable. This one definitely took me by surprise. I'm surprised I had never heard of this band before, because it's great. So yeah, that's 17 Negative Plane with The Pact. I believe this was a debut that came out this year. I know it had been repressed, but I have one of the first 50 copies. This is Morkera with Entangled Excavations for number 16. So this is kind of pretty straightforward, like black and death metal, maybe more death metal, especially with the vocals. The drumming on this album is bananas. It goes so crazy. There's a couple songs on here that just like totally blew my mind the first time I've heard it. Like, I don't believe any of these guys are in any other bands, and like, this is about as good as a debut gets, in my opinion. The artwork is stunning. The production is insanely good. One of my favorite songs of the year, Silent Gatherers. Definitely check that one out. Again, everything will be in the description. So that's 16 Morkera with Entangled Excavations. So I've done this in the past for Esoc Trillium when they released 2 albums in the same year. And I'm going to do it again for number 15. These 2 albums occupy the same spot. So this is Cabinet with Claustrophobic Dysentery and Get In the Cabinet. Cabinet is kind of hilarious, and it doesn't make sense how good they are. It's about evil furniture, if I parse it correctly, but they are not to be joked with. This is like definitely some cancer-inducing, AIDS-inducing death metal. This just like, the production is so insanely overwhelming, and the guitar tone is so insanely down-tuned, and there's nothing to really grab onto. But when this band decides to turn heavy and turn some real riffs around, it's just like getting hit with a steam engine. It's incredible. These guys have a very bright future, and I'm definitely glad to have found them so early. So yeah, go check out Cabinet, number 15. Number 14, this is another band I had just found this year, and I'm very sad that it took me so long to find this. I've been listening to their material like non-stop since I found it. This is White Ward with False Light, sorry. So White Ward is like something that's exactly up my alley, and I can't believe I never found it before. Very dark, moody, slightly depressing black metal, maybe like post-black metal mixed with more instrumentation, a lot more saxophone. Saxophone in metal is like one of my weaknesses, as you can probably tell. I listen to this a lot. I listen to Love Exchange Failure a lot. Just found out about those albums not too long ago. Incredible album. Just, it's all over the place. It has so many different things going on. Just, White Ward isn't exactly a band that you can kind of distill down into a few minute description, but check it out if you like just good, authentic music. So that's number 14. Number 13, now we're getting into some bands that I do know very well. This is Exocrine with The Hybrid Suns. I've talked about Exocrine here a lot. I think I've covered every one of their releases, if I'm not mistaken. This is definitely either my favorite or my second favorite album of theirs. It picks up kind of where Molten Giant left off for me. I thought the Water album was a little weaker instrumentally, but this one, it just cranks it up to 11. Like, these guys are playing on a new fifth dimension. The drums and the guitars are so insanely fast and tight, it's crazy. Tech death of the highest order, just almost none can compare. It's pretty short and sweet, bite-sized album. There's some clean singing on this thing, which is actually very catchy. Highly recommend. Exocrine, number 13. Number 12. This is a bump the desk. This is a sad goodbye to this album, or to this band with this album, but I'm glad that it turned out as well as it did. Maybe they can make a comeback at some point, but who knows. But this is the Artificial Brain, self-titled. It is, without question, this is my favorite Artificial Brain album. This thing just has so many different looks going on. It's technical, it's brutal, it's melodic, it's emotional at some points. Like, they're one of the only bands I can think of that's brutal and also can convey an emotion. Like, Will Smith's vocals on this are just freaking insane, inhuman. Definitely some sort of orc monster living inside of him. Yeah, amazing album. Can't ask more from a band on their farewell. Worth noting, Artificial Brain album has Artificial Brain song on it, so it goes 3 levels deep. I enjoy that quite a bit. So yeah, that's number 12, Artificial Brain. So number 11, these guys are usually much higher on my list, but there just simply was not room. I do love this album a lot. I do have the vinyl version sitting here. This is Consecration of Spiritus Flesh by Esoc Trillium. This is a much more direct effort from our Lord and Savior here. Extremely fast and extremely brutal style of black and death metal on this one. Not as much different instrumentation as we're used to with the Serpent Telepath and Eternity of Sheog, or Shaug. But the vocals on this, he just keeps getting better at those too. The drums go absolutely insane. You think he had a third arm and a third leg playing this thing. I'd love to see him do some recordings of these. Yeah, number 11, Esoc Trillium, one of my favorite bands in the world right now. Alright, number 10. This is one that every man, woman, and child should listen to. This is Encenithrock with Ithate Thunkth Osiate. Sure, we'll try that. If you know Esoc Trillium, it's just a bunch of gibberish. I mean, if you can see the song titles back there, I don't think it's really supposed to be pronounced, but they play maybe the most chaotic style of music on Earth. I can't really put into words what they play. It's somewhere in between technical, brutal death metal, jazz, and harsh noise, with like 500,000 BPM instrumentation in there somewhere. Not going to say much about this. If you know Encenithrock, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But just take my word, they're number 10 for a reason. So go check out Encenithrock. Alright, number 9. This was a large return to form for this band, one of my all-time faves. This is Origin with Chaosmos. I listened to this kind of in an unhealthy amount when it came out. I had to take a break from it because I got kind of sick of it. It was that good. Huge return to form. One of my absolute favorite releases of theirs for sure. coming back with the brutality, coming back with the super catchy, insanely fast riffs. The vocals on this are very good. Um, Not much to say about Origin. They're a pretty big band on a pretty big label. Super brutal, super technical, super fast. It's not overly long either, so it's an easy, digestible album that actually has like a decent amount of looks. It doesn't just drag on with blast beats and tremolos the whole time. So yeah, number 9 with Origin. Number 8, this was Bump the Desk again. This is probably the biggest album that I'm covering. It got like way more traction than I ever could have imagined. I'm pretty sure I covered their last album, the Lonadom something. Anyways, this is Ashen Spire with Hostile Architecture. One of the most emotional albums I've heard in many years. There's all kinds of stuff going on here. The vocals are almost just spoken word wailing at some point. It's poetic, it's soul crushing reality mixed with, oppressive human nature. It's something else, man. I can't think of any other band or album that sounds anything like Ashen Spire at this point. There's just so much to look at here. Tons of instrumentations. There's a bunch of people in this band. There's a ton of guests on this album. It's not super long. Everything's pretty succinct, and they do a great job of boiling down what they're trying to get to. It's not bloated in any way where it could very easily be. It is it's a masterful album. I have no complaints with it. So go check out Ashen Spire for number 8. Number 7. This was one of my most played albums of the year for sure. This is Epitaph with Chew. I had also never heard of this band until this album came out. I bought their debut as well on Discogs, I think. Really big, hearty, emotional, overbearing heaviness kinds of like Funeral Doom, Death Doom, Blackened Death. I don't know. There's a lot going on here. It's not really worth putting it in any kind of category. There's a lot of experimentation. The songs are like 15, 20 minutes long each. The vocals, the singing, incredible. The guitar tone, incredible. The songwriting is incredible. It's this high up on the list for a reason. Great acoustic guitars on this as well. Go check out Epitaph for number 7. So number 6. I was very late to this party. I'm glad I'm finally on it though. This is one that definitely took me by surprise. I had no idea how good this band was. This is Pharmacist with Flourishing Extremities on Unspoiled Mental Grounds. So this is like death grind or like gore grind to an extent, but it is one of the most catchy albums and one of the most creative offerings from this genre that I've ever heard. I think Accelerating Separation is my song of the year. One of the most hype songs ever. Just, you cannot possibly listen to that song and not just get insanely hype. Like, I don't know what it is about this band, but they know the formula to write just bangers. And all of the songs on this are really long for some reason. Death Grind is usually like a minute or two per song, but the songs are like 7 minutes long. So that's a big selling point for me. Yeah, go check out Pharmacist. Alright, next one here. We have number 5. We're getting to the big boys now. This was far and away my Slam album of the year. If this wasn't your Slam album of the year, then you're wrong. I think this is the objective right answer. This is Agonal Breathing with Bloodthirsty Mutilation. Agonal Breathing is pretty legendary in the scene at this point. Insanely brutal vocals. Gotta be one of the top 3 most brutal vocalists in Slam. Like, it's ridiculous. The guitars are actually pretty complex on this album. It's not just a chug fest. There's real riffs. There's solos here and there. The samples are actually pretty tasteful. I'm very picky with samples, but if you can't tell, the album is like dudes getting eaten by reptiles and shit. But there's a couple a couple samples on there that are related to that, and they're kind of funny, and I'm definitely into it. Insanely good. Can't say good enough things about Agonal Breathing. One of my favorite Slam bands. Alright, number 4. I only have this one on vinyl, so you're going to be getting the vinyl treatment here. Number 4 is one that I have been supporting a long time as well, and I think this is definitely their best effort. This is Black Fucking Cancer with Procreate in Verse. If you know the band, then they need no introduction. They play an extremely vile and violent, fast-paced, almost brutal style of black metal that's so fast-paced, so long, so enduring that, like, you almost have to be an Olympic athlete to play stuff like this. Like, Obscene Lusting Dagger. That song is just bananas. Definitely inhuman playing on this album. I would love to see them play live. I have no idea if they play live or not. I haven't looked into that. But that would be a special treat to go see them live and watch them do whatever the heck they do. Yeah, not going to say much about them. I've covered them a lot on this channel. Just know if that's my favorite one, then it is for a reason. Number 4, Black Fucking Cancer. So number 3, this is one that should be no surprise. I have had this band as my album of the year a couple times. This is Malady with Wound of Gods. Incredible artwork, incredible production on this. It's not overly long, it's not too short. I think a couple of their most recent ones have been a little too short for me. Maybe has the most diversity of any of the albums I've heard of theirs. The singing is phenomenal. The instrumentation is super catchy. There's a couple flute solos on this. Probably the only band on planet Earth that can make a flute solo sound badass. The sax goes hard. The drums are like completely next level. The drums took me by surprise to an insane degree, especially on Of Hanged Mankind. Probably my favorite song on this album. The combination of the high singing, the belting singing with just like the million BPM drums in the background goes so hard. So yeah, that's number 3, Malady. Number 2, this one was a huge surprise. I had never heard of this band either. But I actually went to see these guys live, got to meet them. They've had some lineup issues, but they're powering through it. This one blew my mind. This is number 2 for a reason. They earned it. But this is Worm Shepherd with Ritual Hymns. Easily launches them into the deathcore pantheon of all-time greats. This is one of the most inspired efforts I've ever heard out of a deathcore album. It has, some symphonic things going on. It has some blackened things going on. It has some brutal things going on. It's tight. It's technical. Devin, the vocalist, is just otherworldly. I can't say that I've ever seen someone so good live. I've seen a lot of the big names live, but just bananas. It's It's not deathcore that you like, get excited for and you mosh around for. It's stuff that you're just like, "Ugh, it's too heavy. It's dark. It feels real. It feels genuine. It doesn't feel forced. It's the complete package. It does everything incredibly that you could ever expect out of a deathcore band. So yeah, number 2, Worm Shepherd. Please go check them out. And number 1, the finale, the grand finale. I'm not going to show the disc on this one because it's kind of vulgar, but after so many spins, after so many re-changes to this lineup, I feel like any of these last 10 could have been number 1 at some point. But the number 1 had to go to the Antichrist Imperium, Satan in his original form, original glory, sorry. Incredible artwork, really digging it. It's super corny, black and death metal, progressive, avant-garde. Antichrist Imperium, obviously part of the Voices Akercock trio, where they substitute in and out members a lot. This is definitely the best offering of the Antichrist Imperium. It has so many great vocal lines, great lyrics. The lyrics are so damn cheesy that I just can't help but put it number 1. Like, every time I listen to this, it gives me butterflies. Like, it's so funny, it's so good. There's no other band on planet Earth who could pull off a sound like this and not make it sound stupid. Like, it feels real, it feels genuine. Like, they have the right history to pull this off. Here's them as zombies. Just so many great songs, so powerful, so genuine feeling. The instrumentals are great. The guitars are on fire. David Gray does a phenomenal job as always. One of the greatest drummers of all time. The vocals are highly, highly improved from their previous works. Just spill all of my love that I have out for this album. I can't say enough good things about it. So yeah, that's my 25 favorite metal albums for this year. Hopefully you enjoyed it a little bit. I'll leave everything in the description. Go check it out. Go buy something. Go listen to something. And thank you for your patience, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.